No, move, move. What'd I tell you, boys? You're gonna need some back. Come on.
Santiago Pope Garcia, a former Delta Force operator, works as a private military advisor in Colombia. Acting on a tip, the police quickly surround a cartel building and demand everyone surrender.
Tiren sus armas y salgan del edificio con las manos detrás de la cabeza.
But instead of giving up, someone inside fires an RPG, turning the street into chaos. Pinned down under heavy fire, the officers start falling one after another. Seeing the situation collapse, Pope calmly changes position while cartel members stay focused on the police. Then, with a single shot from his underbarrel grenade launcher, he wipes out the gunman and ends the firefight instantly. For a guy like him, this is nothing. After the raid, several captured cartel members try bribing their way out by offering $400,000. The police captain coldly replies that the money already belongs to them. One frightened gang member suddenly betrays his boss and reveals that cartel leader Lorea is hiding deep in the jungle with all his cash because he refuses to trust banks. Interested, the captain questions another captured man, but the gangster keeps acting defiant. Instead of arresting them, the police simply execute them on the spot. The remaining prisoners, mostly young workers and women forced to work for the cartel, are spared and taken away. Among them is Pope's informant, Giovanna. She uses the confusion to disappear into the crowd, and Pope pretends to chase after her. He even misleads motorcycle officers by pointing them in the wrong direction. After making sure she escapes safely, he radios the captain and casually reports that he lost her somewhere in the area. Later, Pope secretly meets Giovanna at her home and asks if Lorea is truly hiding in the jungle. Before answering, she angrily blames him for not warning her about the raid earlier, which led to her younger brother being arrested. Then she offers him a deal. If she reveals Lorea's location, will he rescue her brother in return? Pope becomes irritated that she hid such important information until now, but Giovanna quickly fires back. She explains that Lorea has already bought off both the Colombian police and private military groups. Those small raids are only for appearances because nobody truly wants to capture him. That is why the captain killed the man who knew Lorea's location instead of properly interrogating him. Realizing the entire system is corrupted, Pope decides to handle the mission himself. The first person Pope visits is Ironhead, the team's assault and shooting specialist. After retirement, he now works as a motivational speaker for young soldiers. Besides being a deadly marksman, Ironhead is strangely obsessed with statistics. He casually remembers things like his 43 confirmed kills and the fact that this speech for young soldiers is his 173rd. When Pope makes his offer, Ironhead barely thinks twice. For him, the only thing that matters is whether their old leader, Redfly, is involved. If Redfly says yes, he's already in. Meanwhile, Redfly now works as a real estate agent, but civilian life clearly doesn't fit him. Sales are poor, his marriage has fallen apart, and every day feels smaller than the life he once had. Just then, Pope arrives almost like a lifeline and offers him $17,000 a week as a consulting fee. He hides the real plan and claims that a private military company wants help capturing Lorea. Redfly initially refuses, saying he has already left that life behind. Still, he invites Pope to come along while he drops his daughter off at school. During the drive, Redfly casually mentions that she is only 15 and probably not paying attention anyway. Taking the opportunity, Pope slowly lays out the details. The agency agreed to let them keep 25% of the $75 million they recover. Redfly immediately understands how illegal it sounds and hesitates. That is when Pope reminds him that he took 5 bullets serving his country and still cannot even afford a new car. The words stay in Redfly's mind. After thinking for a while, he tells Pope to meet him later at Ben's boxing match. That evening, the old group finally reunites. Ben, Ironhead's younger brother, is now a boxer. Catfish, their former pilot, has a wife and child. When Pope lays out the plan, Ben barely hesitates. For him, life outside the military never felt complete anyway. But Catfish has changed. He's got a family now and no longer wants risky jobs. Then Red Fly arrives and finally accepts Pope's offer himself. At that point, Catfish realizes the team is truly coming back together and reluctantly agrees as well. And just like that, the former soldiers head deep into the Brazilian jungle toward the hidden estate where Lorea keeps his fortune. Fortunately for them, the compound appears lightly guarded, with only a few cameras and a small number of armed men. At first, the mission seems easier than expected. But the moment they notice children inside the estate, both Red Fly and Catfish immediately object. No matter how much money is involved, they refuse to carry out the operation if innocent kids are nearby. Luckily, Pope already prepared for that problem. Lorea is deeply religious, and every Sunday, he sends his family to church along with several guards. That small window is the perfect opportunity for the team to strike. At the same time, Giovanna arrives at the safe house with a money transfer van and secretly records the exact location where the cash is.
Okay.
That night, while they sit around drinking, Ironhead casually asks when the agency's military forces are supposed to step in. Pope finally stops hiding the truth and admits there is no agency operation at all. They're going to hit Lorea's house by themselves and keep the money. The whole group falls silent for a moment. When Red Fly asks who is even going to pay them, Pope simply takes them outside and reminds them that the cash waiting in that jungle is already more money than any of them have ever seen in their lives. Pope argues that if they hand the mission over to the authorities, a man like Lorea will just disappear again. He promises this will be his last target. Then he points out something that hits everyone hard. After 17 years of risking their lives for their country, none of them are truly rich. They survived wars, bullets, and sacrifices, yet still struggle with normal lives. That quiet frustration slowly changes the mood, and one by one, they agree to go through with the robbery. Once the decision is made, Red Fly immediately shifts into planning mode. As the brain of the team, he lays out every detail carefully. They must finish the raid in under 40 minutes. After that, they cannot carry all the money back on foot, so they will steal the van inside the compound. But since one vehicle still won't be enough to move $75 million, Pope promises he already arranged another getaway car. Just like that, the operation finally starts feeling real. The next morning, Pope meets Giovanna at a crowded market. She secretly hands him the recording showing where the money is hidden and immediately asks when her brother will be released. Before answering, Pope asks for one more favor. He wants her to deliver a van directly into Lorea's compound during a mission. In return, he promises $2 million along with safe passage out of the country for both her and her brother. Giovanna hesitates for a while, but eventually agrees. After securing the van, Pope takes the team to a hidden container filled with weapons and equipment. He then shows everyone the footage from Giovanna's phone, proving the money is real. This time, Red Fly gives the team one final chance to walk away, reminding them that once they cross the line, there is no going back from the crime they are about to commit. Even so, none of them leave. The following morning, heavy rain covers the jungle, and for a while it seems like the entire plan might collapse. Fortunately, Lorea's family still leaves for church with part of the security team. Not long after, Giovanna arrives at the compound with a delivery van, while her brother follows behind in another car. She calmly explains that her boss ordered her to bring the vehicle, and the guard lets her through without suspicion. The moment she leaves, Pope's team moves in under the cover of rain. One by one, they quietly eliminate the guards and slip deeper into the house. But just as they think everything is under control, one unnoticed guard suddenly appears. Forced to act fast, they shoot him in the leg, instantly ruining the silent approach. Knowing the alarm could spread at any second, the team rushes upstairs where Lorea should be. But when they get there, the room is empty. Even worse, the massive stacks of cash they saw in Giovanna's recording are gone too. As the team stands there in shock, unsure what to do next, Pope suddenly notices the strong smell of fresh paint around the room. He quickly checks the walls and discovers that the money is hidden inside them. Stacks upon stacks of cash are packed throughout the walls across the entire floor. There is far more than the $75 million they expected, and the sight of that much money immediately changes the atmosphere.
Got another wall over here!
For the first time, Red Fly starts breaking his own rules. Knowing they are already running out of time, he still pushes the team to stay an extra 7 minutes so they can load more bags. The others strongly disagree, warning that greed will ruin the mission, and the argument grows louder inside the house. Before things get worse, Pope cuts in and reminds everyone that they still have not found Lorea himself. That finally calms the situation. Red Fly reluctantly agrees with the others and prepares to burn the house before leaving. But at that exact moment, Lorea suddenly opens fire from a hidden room. The team reacts instantly and kills him during the firefight, though Ironhead takes a bullet through the belly. Fortunately, it passes clean through and does not seem life-threatening. Still, there is no time to rest. Outside, the family's security convoy is already returning toward the compound. They move out methodically, taking down every gunman who enters. Within minutes, the area is completely silent. They torch the mansion, load the cash, and finally drive away. On the way, they even pass Lorea's family car. Despite everything that happened, they simply drive past without touching them and continue toward the airstrip. But once they arrive, another problem appears. Instead of a large aircraft, only a small plane lands. Confused and frustrated, Ben hands over the $2 million payment and asks how they are supposed to move all this money with such a tiny aircraft. The pilot calmly signals for another transport, and only then does a massive cargo helicopter appear from the distance. Everyone finally relaxes. Even so, the team has stolen over $250 million, creating serious weight problems for the helicopter. Still keeping his promise, Pope also brings Yavanna and her brother aboard so they can be dropped safely near the Peruvian border. Fortunately, they manage to reach the border area without trouble. Before leaving, Red Fly coldly warns the siblings never to speak about what happened if they want to stay alive. Later, Pope gives Yavanna passports hidden inside one of the money bags and tells her to disappear somewhere far away, even all the way to Australia if necessary. Feeling emotional, Yavanna finally asks him how she can contact him again someday. But Pope simply tells her there is no way, then walks back to the helicopter without looking back. As the flight continues toward the Andes Mountains, Fish becomes increasingly worried about the helicopter's weight. Red Fly refuses to abandon more money and keeps pressuring him to continue. But once they climb above 11,000 feet, the aircraft begins struggling badly. Left with no choice, they start throwing money bags out into the mountains below, dumping nearly $30 million just to stay airborne. Even after losing that much cash, the helicopter barely reaches the final peak. Then another disaster hits. The gearbox suddenly begins failing, forcing Fish to attempt an emergency landing near a farm below. But some of the cargo bags are still hanging underneath the helicopter. Fish desperately orders the others to release them, yet the mechanism jams completely. With no other option, Ben climbs out himself and manually kicks the hook free. The bags finally fall away, but Ben loses his balance and drops onto the field below just as the helicopter spins violently during landing. Somehow, thanks to Fish's skill, the helicopter crashes onto the ground without killing the rest of the team. The bad luck still is not over. The field where they crash landed turns out to be filled with coca plants. Wanting to avoid another gunfight, Pope and Red Fly walk forward alone to talk with the farmers while Ben and Fish stay behind and watch from a distance. But the moment the farmers see a military helicopter and bags full of cash, they mistake them for anti-narcotics forces. The argument quickly grows heated, and before anyone can calm the situation, Red Fly suddenly fires first. The gunfight erupts instantly, leaving several farmers dead on the ground. Realizing the disaster they just created, Pope later meets peacefully with the village chief and tries to fix the situation before more blood is spilled. He pays compensation for the dead farmers, gives extra money to the chief himself, and asks for donkeys to help carry the remaining cash through the mountains. Fortunately, the chief accepts the deal. But as the team prepares to leave, a young boy whose father was killed steps into the road and blocks their path with anger in his eyes. The village chief tells him to move aside and let the team keep on. As the long journey goes on, tension slowly starts growing inside the group. More and more, Red Fly's greed feels like the reason they keep falling into danger. Then the situation becomes even worse when they reach a narrow smuggler path running along the edge of a cliff. Halfway across, the two brothers begin arguing because Ben keeps slowing everyone down. In the middle of the shouting, the unstable ground suddenly collapses. Fish's donkey slips over the cliff, sending millions of dollars flying through the air and disappearing into the mountains below. Watching the money vanish finally breaks Pope's patience. He openly blames everyone, especially Red Fly. Fish steps in before the argument turns physical and forces everyone to keep moving away from the dangerous cliff path. Since the route near the mountain peak is too steep for the donkeys, the team eventually frees the animals and begins carrying the heavy money bags themselves, dragging them one by one across the freezing mountains. Red Fly finally admits his mistakes and apologizes to Pope for his reckless decisions. Pope also calms down and apologizes for losing his temper earlier, allowing the group to slowly reconcile again. That night, the cold becomes unbearable. Ben suddenly starts burning the money just to stay warm. At first, Red Fly tries to stop him, but eventually even he realizes survival matters more now. One by one, they gather around the flames, watching millions of dollars burn into ashes while trying to survive the freezing night. The next morning, while pulling the remaining bags uphill, two village boys suddenly ambush them from the rocks above. Fortunately, the stones give the team enough cover to react. Red Fly stays behind his bait while the others circle around to higher ground. But during the chaos, one of the boys accidentally moves into Red Fly's line of sight. Red Fly shoots him immediately, only to be shot himself by the second boy hiding nearby. Pope quickly kills the boy, but it is already too late. Grief and anger explode inside the group. Ironhead blames Ben for burning the money the previous night, believing the fire revealed their location. Ben fires back angrily, and the two brothers start fighting until Pope stops them. Pope then explains the truth. The boys have been following them ever since they left the village. They only wanted revenge on the man who killed their fathers.
Listen, please, brother.
Now 5 days behind schedule, the team realizes they can no longer move together at the same pace while carrying heavy money bags and Red Fly's body through the mountains. To save time, Ben heads out alone first to scout the town and check whether their escape boat is still waiting. The next day, Ben finally returns with both good news and bad news. The good news is that the boat is still there waiting for them. But the bad news is much worse. Lorea's men have spread through the entire town searching for them. Even more troubling, most of the search groups are just teenagers, making the situation far more complicated for the team. None of them want more blood on their hands, especially children's. Realizing they cannot reach the boat while dragging every bag and carrying Red Fly's body, they finally make the painful decision to abandon most of the money. Each man keeps only what he can personally carry, while the remaining cash is hidden deep inside a ravine somewhere in the mountains. After risking everything for hundreds of millions of dollars, they are now forced to walk away from almost all of it. That night, Ben heads toward the boat first to make sure the coast is clear. Meanwhile, the remaining three run into a nervous teenage boy carrying a gun. But before they manage to capture him, the boy quickly radios the other search groups. They take his car and radio, preparing to escape before more people arrive. Even then, Pope gives him a wad of cash, warning him not to get involved with dangerous people. Not long after, several vehicles filled with armed teenagers begin chasing them through the dark roads after hearing the radio call. Fish desperately tells the others to shoot, but none of them can bring themselves to kill kids. Instead, Pope carefully fires at tires and engines, trying only to disable the vehicles rather than hurt anyone. Eventually, they manage to lose the pursuit and finally reach the small motorboat where Ben is waiting. In the end, after all the death and suffering, the team escapes with only $5 million and the body of their dead friend.
Cut 5 ways, which gives you 5 shares of $1,066,824.
But even then, Ironhead tears up his own share agreement and decides Red Fly's family should receive his portion instead. One by one, the others follow his decision and agree to send all the money to Red Fly's family through a lawyer. And just like that, the mission Pope started ends with Red Fly's life being worth $5 million. As they prepare to separate and go their own ways, Ironhead asks Pope what he plans to do next. Pope jokes that he might head to Australia, where Giovanna now lives with far more money than any of them kept. But before leaving, he seriously asks Ironhead for one favor. If he ever meets Red Fly's family, he should tell them that Red Fly was an honest and hardworking man. Finally, Ironhead hands Pope a small piece of paper before walking away. It is nothing less than the coordinates to the hidden money bag still buried in the mountains.